Our defence and security analyst, Michael Clarke, joins us now. And Michael, there's not been an election in Ukraine since 2024, and the Constitution says...
2019.
2019, yeah. But the mandate ran out in 2024.
May 24, the mandate ran out,
Should have been one then, and martial law is in force, and the Constitution says if they're at war, they can't hold elections. So thus, Zelenskyy remains in post. So with that in mind, what's Fedorov trying to achieve here?
A big crisis. I mean, this has been building up. There are several things going on today. As we speak. So there are demonstrations outside Parliament because Parliament returned from the recess yesterday, the Rada, and today was the day they were going to confirm Fedorov's replacement, Kamara, Yevgeny Kamara, and he was due to be confirmed today. So there's demonstrations outside Parliament because of that. And today, NABU and SAPO, the two anti-corruption agencies, have started raiding presidential offices in Kyiv, the offices of the deputy chiefs of the president. And that's going on as we speak. This was all going to be quite big. There are rumours of a revolt inside the Ministry of Defence that if Kamara goes into the MOD, a whole series of officials will walk out and leave him with no staff. That may or may not be true, but those are the rumours that are going around in Kyiv. And on that basis, Fedorov then comes out last night in a 9-minute YouTube clip in which he challenges the whole government, not just about his position, but he says we can't carry on like this. Now, he knows it's impossible to have an election in these circumstances, but he says, look, if this war is going to go on for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years more, when do we have elections? You know, we are fighting for democracy here. At some point, we have to be a democracy. Now, that's a reasonable point, but his challenge is a really big challenge. So what Fedorov is doing, he's taking the gloves off in that video, and he's saying, I challenge Zelenskyy as the leader of this government. The way forward, we don't know, but this is Zelenskyy's most dangerous day today since the Russians invaded in 2022, when we thought he'd be dead by the end of the week, if you remember, in 24th of February. And I remember saying here on Sky, I said he'd be lucky still to be alive at the end of this week. Well, he is, he's there. But today, politically, is his toughest day, for sure.
In the early days of the war, Zelenskyy was polling at around 80% support. That has dropped away to around 30% support.
Yeah, depends who you ask and how you ask it, yeah.
But there's been quite a significant drop. And contenders, challengers, other voices have gained more support.
Fedorov's very popular.
As a result. Yeah. And Fedorov, do you think, has noted the protests in favour of him, noted the upswell of support and thought, right, this is the time to start moving the kind of the checkers around?
I don't know how he thinks it might go forward, but he is explicitly challenging for some sort of leadership. He's been offered senior roles, but he said, no, I only want to be Minister of Defence. He said the only two things that will make a difference in this war is the Minister of Defence and the Chief of the Armed Forces. I can't be Chief of the Armed Forces because I'm not military and I couldn't do that job, but I can be Minister of Defence, and I should be, because I know how we should organise our society to prevail, to win this war. And so that's, he won't take anything else. Presumably, if somebody said to him, well, will you be president? He'd probably say yes. But there's no constitutional method for that to happen that I'm aware of. Anyway, unless Zelenskyy just gives up the job and says, OK, you have a go. Anything is plausible at the moment. This is an extraordinary situation. But an election is almost impossible to imagine because, having elections in wartime, there's occupied territories, there's 3.5 million people under occupation in the areas that the Russians occupy. Another 3.5 million have left that area and are internally displaced. There's 5.5 to 6 million Ukrainians living abroad. How would you run an election with the Russians bombing wherever they can? How would you run a safe election? It's almost impossible to imagine in these circumstances of hot war. After a ceasefire, that was what Zelenskyy was working on. If we could get a ceasefire this year, then part of the idea would be we would hold elections. And behind all of this is the United States, who would like Zelenskyy to go because they think that a successor would do some sort of deal with the Russians and give in and the war would be over and America would claim credit for it. And so the Americans are behind, it is believed, certainly believed in Kyiv, they're behind a lot of the NABU and SAPO operations, the anti-corruption operations, because they think that they will weaken Zelenskyy by doing that. And they're right. Zelenskyy is not regarded as corrupt himself. He is very rich. He was very rich before he went into government because he was he was the best TV producer in Ukraine. But people around him have been regarded as corrupt. And this time last year, Mindish, his great friend, cleared off. I mean, he's now in either in Austria or Israel, one or the other. Nobody's quite sure which. After an expropriation, an embezzlement scheme said to be $100 million. I mean, $100 million, you have to say, that's the cost of one F-35 aircraft. That's peanuts compared to corruption in the West and in the Gulf monarchies, for instance. But it's corruption. Yeah. And it was about defence. And Mindish cleared off. Andrew Yarmak, who was Zelensky's chief of staff, had to step down because of the corruption was getting close to him. He still denies it, of course. And, I mean, Zelensky has been surrounded by people who have been suspected of lots of corruption. Not him himself, but it's being said that he's just not being strong enough about all of this. So he's under real pressure today.
And said to be one of the barriers to entry to the European Union as well, in due course as well. Not tackling that. Of course, a moment that the Russians will surely try and capitalise on and take advantage of the distraction and crisis. Yes.
Good day for Putin.
Michael, plenty more from you. Good to see you. Thank you so much.